Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurlamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Apaino Viraha Tara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tarvo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptastakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavevasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nainam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Radharaman Jukti Jai Srimati Lalita Srimati Vishaka Shri Rupa Manjari Shri Radhi Manjari Shri Prabhupada Shri Gurudev Ki Jai Jai Jai. Want to take a peek? Okay, let's have a peek. Here we go. There's Shri Prabhupada, there's Radhi Manjari, Vishaka Devi, Shri Radha Radharaman, then over there is Lalita, Srimati Lalita, Shri Rupa Manjari, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, some books from Tulsi, and some devotees. All right, there we go. We are beginning by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotan Sat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Astotan Sat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj unto our exalted Rupana Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas Vaishnavis. So today we're in text 21 of the second chapter. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to quote at least two verses from the Sri Manah Siksa of Srila Ragunath Das Gosvami to help us understand the subtle invasion of anarthas, how they pervade our consciousness in the most insidious and subtle way, and so create obstacles to one-pointed loving service to Sri Guru, Vaishnavas, Sri Sri Radha Krishna. So, text 21. So offering obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all the Vaishnavas, Sri Ragunath Das Gosvami states in Manah Siksa, verse 7, that one should give up the desire for prestige and the wickedness of deceit and hypocrisy. We've heard about this deceit and hypocrisy earlier, right? Keeps coming up. Desire for prestige, recognition, honor, receiving respect. Great devotees, great personalities receive it, but they never seek it. They never seek it. Let's see, what is the verse? Patishta shadishta swapacha ramani me hridina tet katam sadhu prema sprishyati shuchiriten nanu mana sadatvam sevasva prabhu dayata samantam matulam jatatam Yatatam nishkasya tvaritam ihatam vishayati saha. So the question is, why does deceit not go away, even after you've given up sense enjoyment? This verse has been composed in order to remove this doubt. So here's the verse. O mind, tell me, how can pure divine love appear in my heart? And that means the mind. In this case, you represent my heart. As long as the shameless, outcast woman of the desire for prestige is audaciously dancing there. Therefore, without delay, remember and serve the immeasurably powerful commanders of Sri Krishna's army, the very dear devotees of Bhagavan. They will quickly chase away this outcast woman and initiate the flow of pure Braja Prem in my heart. So the dear devotees of Bhagavan, they obviously are Guru Varga, but I was listening to, I guess it was Bhajan Rahasya, and Srila Gurudev was talking about also, just as important and linking us in the same way, is serving those who are dear to Sri Guru. Can't think that, oh, I am Guru's servant and everyone else I neglect or disrespect. No. He, in fact, said that one who's, for Sri Guru, his mindset is one who serves his devotees is more dear to him than one who is serving him directly. Of course, there may be some who are serving him directly with the mood of serving the devotees. That doesn't, disqualify you. In other words, but the idea is that mentality of dasa, das, anudas, right? So, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj explains in this regard, the desire, asha, for prestige, pratishta, is called pratisht asha. Although all other anarthas may be dispelled, the desire for pratishta is not easily removed. The desire for prestige is the root of all anarthas. All kinds of deceit and hypocrisy arise from it and are gradually nourished by it. In other words, unless and until you have removed that, it's an ongoing thing. This desire for prestige feeds the next stage of desires, deceit, hypocrisy, and everything else. It's vital to understand this terrible mentality and try to remove it. Now, he says, the Svanishta sadhak yearns to be recognized as a virtuous, benevolent, and sinless devotee of Bhagavan, who is detached from the world, scholarly, and so on. And the next verse, he's going to quote verse 6. He's quoting verse 7 here, and he's going to go back and quote verse 6. And in that purport, three kinds of devotees, Svanishta sadhak, Parinishta sadhak, and Nirapeksha. Right? But the Svanishta is as a householder devotee who isn't attached to the rules and regulations of Varnashram, and they're just engaged in Bhagavad Bhakti. If the Varnashram principles are parallel and supportive of Bhakti, they may follow them, but they're not governed by them. So that person who's externally very engaged in Bhakti, good householder, right? But they may be desired to be recognized as virtuous, benevolent, sinless, detached, scholarly. All the subtle ornaments of a devotee that are there, they may have some of them, right, to different degrees, but they want to be acknowledged for them, right? Oh, Prabhu, you're so scholarly. Oh, you are so virtuous. Oh, you're sinless. Oh, you're such a good example. And they bathe in that, right? And if you're honest, you look in your heart, we all bathe in that at this point. We all want to be honored and recognized. And at our stage, it sort of compels us to continue bhakti because we have this mixed taste. We're tasting that, being praised, patted on the head, oh, so good, all right, and then you want to do more, right? But you really have to remove that taste of pratishta. Yeah, you want devotees to appreciate seva, you want to know that you're doing seva correctly, in other words, but you don't want to feed off the praise and the honor. You want to feed off a mood of selfless joy in honoring and serving the servants of my Guru and our Guru Varga. Entering into that mentality is a very different nature. But we taste it. I mean, we get some of that. But here he's showing us we've got to go deep. Therefore, as long as the desire for prestige remains in the heart, one is unable to drive away deceit. Deceit. Ooh, kutinati, right? This deceit is anything that we do, say, interact with others that has any tinge of our own self-aggrandizement, our own self-interest, right? We're doing it for that motive also, right? That's deceit, that's cheating, right? And as long as pratishta is there, we can't drive that away. And until one becomes free from deceit, one cannot obtain immaculate divine love. Right? Immaculate. What a beautiful word, huh? When you hear the word immaculate, it just it just brings forth this emotion of golden light and purity and love and all these things, right? Immaculate divine love. In other words, if deceit remains, one does not attain prema for Sri Krishna, which is endowed with a sense of great possessiveness, mamata, and which makes the heart melt. Right? We can't go that. Service to pure Vaishnavas is the only means to dispel anarthas like wickedness, deceit, and hypocrisy. And along with that idea of service to pure Vaishnavas, avoiding the danger of disrespecting or committing offense to pure Vaishnavas. You may be serving your guru who's a pure Vaishnava, but if you disrespect or offend another pure Vaishnava, that's serious trouble. You have to recognize the breadth of Mahaprabhu's movement, the breadth of his influence through his different pure servants, in many, many different places. In this nectar of instruction, Srila Prabhupada mentions that in his purports, and we have to be conscious of it. We may serve in our own institution and our own sangha and be very happy, but we have to also be very happy to honor others. And that beautiful book by Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, my beloved masters, describes the interactions of many of the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada after they had already separated and were in their own groups, but how they continued to show respect and honor to one another, how they interacted. And there are also stories about the time with Srila Prabhupada, how they also cooperated together, not competing against each other for the favor and pleasure of Sri Guru, but actually trying to assist one another in service for the pleasure and success of Guru's mission, right? That's so important. And the root of all that other problem is this deceit and this desire for prestige. I want to be recognized by Guru, I want to be acknowledged as a real servant, and sometimes that means that people want to drag down another and make them look less. I had one godbrother, unfortunately, who was very talented, Everybody liked him when he was charismatic and friendly, but he had this tendency to try to erode and drag down others. And that was ultimately his downfall. He thought by doing that, he himself could remain in the topmost position. And it didn't work out that way. We wish him well, but that kind of mentality completely wreck your bhakti. Service to pure Vaishnavas is the only means to dispel anarthas like wickedness, deceit, and hypocrisy. The rays of the Hladini Shakti are to be seen in the hearts of pure Vaishnavas. These rays are transmitted into the heart of a faithful sadhak, where they dispel these anarthas and manifest Braja Prem. Always serve the immeasurably merciful and powerful commanders of Sri Nanda Nandana's army, his beloved devotees. The embrace of pure Vaishnavas, the dust from their lotus feet, the remnants of their prasad, the water that has washed their feet, their instructions, and so forth, are all fully competent to transmit Hladini Shakti into the heart. This is confirmed in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 6. Antya-lila, Mahaprabhu's final pastimes in Puri and final instructions. Bhakta Paraduliyara, Bhakta Paraja, Bhakta Bhukta Aveshesha, Tina Mahabha, Etina Seva Hoite, Krishna Prema Hoya, Puna Puna Sarva Shastre, Pukariya Kaya. I wonder if we have that Chaitanya Charitamrita. Where is it? Antya-lila, chapter 6. Is that Antya-lila? I can't read. Madhya, Antya, what does that say? Antya-lila. Very important. Let's read this.
What?
Yes, please. Chapter 6, 60 to 61. Okay. Oh. This is the chapter that also describes the Panihati festival of Raghunath Das. And in that festival, that principle of serving Vaishnavas under the order of Guru, trying to get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu to get the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu instructed Raghunath Das to make a feast and serve all the Vaishnavas. And then, after pleasing Nityananda Prabhu in that way, Nityananda went further and said to all these assembled devotees, please give your blessings to Raghunath Das. So, Antya-lila, chapter 6, 60, 61. Wait a minute. That's not right. Wait a minute. Antya-lila, chapters. That's not where this is. That's not where this is. Just a moment, please. I'm going to look up the verse index. I don't think it's even in this. Anyway, it's about Bhaktapada, right? The feet, the dhuli, right? The dust and the Bhaktapada jal, the water that washes their feet, right? These things are what, and their prasad. These things are what purify the heart. What? Mistake. Well, book gets reprinted. Antya-lila, chapter 6. Anyway, at least the principle of it is there.
This book says 1660.
16.
Yeah.
Antya-lila?
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess they just add a little one number. Should have been in front of the 6.
Yeah.
16. Okay. The Lord tastes nectar. This is that chapter that describes Mahaprabhu's tasting of prasad and his description. Oh, and there's so many verses. Oh, Kalidas. Kalidas, the one who would bring beautiful fruits to give to the Vaishnavas and then they would offer it, and they would take these fruits, and then he would hide. And when they threw out the pits and seeds, he would go to the garbage pile and take them and chew the skins and suck the juice to get that beautiful prasad from them, right? And Mahaprabhu was so pleased with him. So, it says Kalidas was standing outside the door. This is afterwards. Afterwards, after he had gone to Puri, right? So, there's some verses. Taking the remnants of the food of Vaishnavas is so valuable that it induced Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to offer Kalidas his supreme mercy, which is he got to take the water that washed Mahaprabhu's feet. So here's the verse. Here we go. Oh, God, these glasses. Bhakta Paraduliyara, Bhakta Paraja, Bhakta Bhukta, Ada Shesha Tina Mahabal. The dust of the feet of a devotee, the water that has washed the feet of a devotee, and the remnants of food left by a devotee are three very powerful substances. By rendering service to these three, one attains the supreme goal of ecstatic love for Krishna. In all the revealed scriptures, this is loudly declared again and again. Therefore, my dear devotees, please hear from me, for I insist again and again, please keep faith in these three and render service to them without hesitation. From these three, one achieves the highest goal of life, ecstatic love of Krishna. This is the greatest mercy of Lord Krishna. The evidence is Kalidas himself. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained at Jagannath Puri, Nilachala, and he invisibly bestowed great mercy upon Kalidas. That's important. When he says invisibly, remember there were different ways to receive the Ladini Shakti of the pure devotee, right? Rays of prema are emanating from his heart. So, in his presence, hearing from him, right, in a large assembly, certainly you feel uplifted. But also by service to that personality, even at a distance, right? That those instructions of the spiritual master are also, these rays are transmitted into the heart of the faithful sadhak, where they dispel these anarthas and manifest praja prem, right? The embrace of pure Vaishnavas, the dust from their lotus feet, the remnants of their prasad, the water that has washed their feet, their instructions, and so forth. So obviously many of these opportunities come in the direct presence, but he says they're instructions. And both Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj emphasized that if you have faith in the order of Sri Guru, and you are sincerely trying to fulfill that, you get that mercy, even more than in the personal presence. Because in that case, it's a great demonstration of faith to be able to serve in separation, to be able to serve in difficult times when you're not, in the direct presence of Sri Guru, right? It's very, very powerful. And all the benefits that anyone gets in direct association, you can get by that as well. Now, that doesn't change the idea that you also want to associate time to time. Mahaprabhu encouraged even Rupa and Sanatan, who he had ordered to be in Vrindavan, they were allowed to come and visit time to time and get inspiration and instruction. But have faith in that. And so now we go to text 22. And this is Manah Siksa, verse 6. Are cheta prodyat kapata kuninati badakara sharan mutre snadvadahasi katam atmanam apimam sadatvam gandharva giridara paraprema vilasat sudham bodho snadvasvam api nitaram mam cha sukaya. now, it begins a little introduction. In spite of having subdued the enemies of lust and anger, one may not have conquered the great enemy of deceit. This verse instructs how to gain victory over that powerful enemy. So, in the previous verse, he quoted number 7 in the Manah Siksa first. But for the purpose of instruction in this Bhajan Rahasya, he first, what he's doing is changing the order a little bit. Manah Siksa, that was number 7. This is Manah Siksa number 6. But it goes back to the point that he was making in verse 7, which is to conquer, by giving up pratishta, one can conquer those underlying qualities of deceit and hypocrisy. Now he's going to define deceit a bit more. O wicked mind, here's the verse. Although you have adopted the path of sadhan, still you imagine yourself purified by bathing in the trickling donkey urine of an obvious abundance of deceit and hypocrisy. By doing so, you are burning yourself and at the same time scorching me, a tiny jiva. Stop this. Eternally delight yourself and me by bathing in the nectarian ocean of prema for the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna Yugal. That's such a graphic description, right? Because obviously, you take a bath and you're feeling, the clean water purifying me like that. But when deceit covers your heart and you're enjoying the fruits of that deceit and hypocrisy and pratishta, right, which is going to come next, he's going to describe it. We already heard that. You think, this is very pleasurable. I'm being honored so much. But that pleasure is so not pleasure, but in the conditioned, bewildered state, you think it is. And he compares it to someone who's bathing in hot donkey urine and enjoying the warm so-called water pouring over their body, thinking they're getting clean, rubbing in their face, washing their hair. Oh, yeah, rubbing it all over. Oh, my muscles are getting so relaxed. Oh, this warm, wonderful shower. But you come out stinking and smelling, and your skin is scorching, and this is what it's like to enjoy deceit, hypocrisy, and the desire for fame. Remember that. This is really good, because every time when you hear these over and over, you can at times check yourself. What am I doing? Why? What's at the heart of this? Why am I speaking like this? And then you say, right, this is deceit, hypocrisy, pratishdasha. I'm bathing in donkey urine, right? And then you pray, please, Gurudev, please free me from this tendency. So Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj says, the abundance of deceit and hypocrisy that are clearly evident in a sadhak, even though he has adopted the path of sadhan, are compared to the urine of a donkey. Considering oneself intently engaged in bhajan while remaining devious and hypocritical is like considering oneself pure after bathing in the filthy, burning urine of a donkey. The duty of a sadhak is to carefully abandon these bad qualities. If we could truly see what this hypocrisy, this deceit, this desire for prestige really is, if we were pure enough to see, then immediately. So imagine what our gurus see, pure gurus who see this in us. Imagine how tolerant and loving they must be to allow us to associate with them, patiently endure all of our nonsense, and continually try to engage and purify us. It's extraordinary to think like that. I mean, we have no patience for others that that have these qualities, and intrude on our peace of mind, on our concept of bhakti. We just get very disturbed by it, right? But great devotees, they're so pure at heart. And they may become angry and chastise, but they never abandon the intent, the compassion, and the love behind that. Their chastisement is done to cut that deceit, to cut that hypocrisy, to cut that nasty desire for praise, and to allow us to enter into this, what do we hear? The immaculate divine love, right? So the duty of a sadhak is to carefully abandon these bad qualities: deceit, hypocrisy, desire for prestige. There are three kinds of bhakti sadhaks: swanishta, parinishtita, and nirapeksha. The hypocrisy that can be demonstrated by each is described below. The swanishta sadhak is a householder devotee who serves Sri Hari and completely abandons the rules and prohibitions prescribed within varnashram. Right? No need for them. Right? I'm not any of these things. I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm a Bhakta. I'm not going to do all these other rules and regulations that they're required. I'm just going to do bhakti. But the deceit of such sadhaks are to indulge in sense enjoyment on the pretext of sadhan bhakti. How is that? To serve wealthy and influential materialists instead of unpretentious devotees, to accumulate more wealth than necessary, to be enthusiastic for futile, temporary enterprises, to indulge in false doctrines, and to adopt the dress of a renunciate in order to obtain material prestige. See? These are things, right? So think about that. Indulging in sense enjoyment on the pretext of sadhan bhakti. In other words, arranging your sadhana. That's easy to understand in certain things, like, okay, I'm going to the temple, let me wear my really fancy kurta and my, flash dhoti here, and everyone's going to really appreciate me and my tulsi necklace with little gold beads in it. and then I'm going to sponsor a really opulent feast. So there'll be tons of paneer and sweets and all these nice things, and you're just salivating, waiting to enjoy that feast. We want to cook these things, but you have to really be focused on the pleasure of Krishna. And an ordinary day-to-day, you want to eat simply, right? Srila Prabhupada encouraged in that way. That he would have a Sunday feast, right, where it'd just be really opulent, or the big feast on appearance days of our acharyas and the Lord. But generally, and it wasn't hard to practice like this because we were poor, simply during the week. And on the appropriate occasions, you have a nice feast, right, like that. But he also encouraged devotees to cook nicely because according to their level, they needed some means to satisfy the senses. So that's why we pray. Of all the senses, the tongue is most difficult to control, right? Therefore, you've given us this nice prasad. And we see Mahaprabhu enjoyed very tasty prasad. It's part of the progress. But you have to recognize, be very careful, whatever it is you're doing, right? And putting on a big festival. If a wealthy person puts on a festival, for what purpose? To serve the Vaishnavas humbly, genuinely, or also to get some recognition. Oh, I have sponsored this feast, everyone should know. And to make a show of giving gifts and this and that for praise and honor and to be recognized. You see often in big festivals, acharyas and high-class devotees will often single out wealthy patrons and people like that and give them honor and praise for two reasons. One, out of genuine gratitude and recognition of the service, but two, also to stimulate them because they need that. They need that. So, yeah, you have to recognize people's level. And also to who you're going to associate with. Materialists, right? Oh, let me hang out with this wealthy people, oh, let me hang out with these big scholars. Oh, let me hang out with these famous actors and, oh, these famous musicians. And in that, oh, I'm getting that reflected prestige and honor, right? Oh, I'm also a wealthy personality, powerful. Oh, I am also a scholar. I have a PhD, and I'm in this assembly of such personalities. The academic world is so puffed up. Oh, my God. So whatever level of accomplishment or self-identification you have, you're seeking material affirmation and praise in that, right? Rather than being humble. Like Maury Gupta was the physician for the king, but he was so humble and so unpretentious that even when the king was being fanned, this Muslim king with a peacock feather, Maury Gupta saw it, and it stimulated ecstatic symptoms. He fainted and fell off this very high dais onto the ground. The king was worried. Oh, what's happened to him? Did he die? Because he's lying there completely unconscious, no symptoms of life. Gradually, he came back, and the king said, "What happened to you, Maury?" "Oh, I have some disease of the heirs, and sometimes this happens." The king was very intelligent. He understood, no, these are symptoms of devotional ecstasy. But Maury Gupta would never speak like that. Even Mahaprabhu would not speak like that. Very humble, not seeking any praise or recognition. Mahaprabhu was always crying that he had no devotion at all. So we don't want any of those qualities. So that's the swanishtata, the swanishta, the one who's following nicely, but these are the things that invade their consciousness and prevent coming to the highest level. The parinishtata sadhak is a householder devotee who serves and attends Bhagavan according to rules and regulations. Right? His deceit is that externally he makes a show of strict adherence to rules and regulations, parinishtata, but inwardly he remains attached to material objects. He also prefers the association of jnanis, yogis, philanthropists, and materialists to that of resolute, loving devotees. So his show and his taste is still influenced by external factors. His intelligence is such that he understands that, okay, service to Bhagavan Bhakti is in my best interest. It's the sadhya, it's also the sadhan, but he still maintains tastes for these other things. He's practicing, but he wants to be with jnanis, philosophical speculators, who are also inclined to impersonalism. Yogis, because they're very self-controlled and even they can acquire mystic cities. They're very healthy. In the modern age, yogis means, why do they practice yoga? To improve their sex life, right? Practice tantra. And what's that one? Kundalini and other practices. But it's all about enhancing the health and capacity for sense enjoyment in the body. Philanthropists who are praised for being generous and giving. They're still attracted to these material elements. And they're not so attracted to loving devotees because loving devotees are very simple. And when you're near their company, what are they doing? They're not standing around in big conferences having drinks and puffing each other up and giving out certificates and awards and honor to each other. No, they just want to hear Hari Katha and do kirtan. All right, and so people that are not attracted, they leave that environment and then they go outside and they talk with each other or they go seek some other situation. And the last is the Nirapeksha sadhak, who is the renunciate. His deceit is that he maintains pride by thinking himself to be the topmost Vaishnava. He adopts the dress of a renunciate and due to false ego regards other sadhaks as inferior. Yes, so here I am. I'm sannyasi. You are much lesser, obviously. I've been engaged for so many years. I'm a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. I had their association. You should all serve and honor me, right? And be happy about it. You should be very blessed by that idea, you know? And give me money. And I want a better car. And I like associating with ladies and materialistic people. I'm preaching, of course. You know, it's for preaching. It's not for any other motive. Anyway, that's the Nirapeksha. That's me. And collect wealth in the name of Bhajan and save it for whatever purpose. Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, all of them, as soon as they got any money, they'd spend it on preaching, printing books, building temples, whatever, you know, engaging it towards expanding the Sankirtan movement. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had accountants who would very carefully oversee the finances, and they had a monthly budget. They knew what was coming up, and they would put aside some money. The rent's coming up in a couple of days. Oh, the utility bill, whatever it would be, right? But he would go and he'd take the money and he would spend it on some preaching purpose. And they would say, oh, Srila Prabhupada, that was for the rent. Oh, that was for this, that was for that. He said, never mind. Krishna will provide. Preach, preach. So by doing all that, he weakens his affection towards Krishna by being overly attached to the external dress and rules of the renounced order and so forth, and the etiquette of that, right? A person, I'm going to tell a story. I'm not going to tell it to criticize people, but just to show how Srila Prabhupada felt about this. In the early days in ISKCON, there were not so many sannyasis, and we had a hierarchy, and everyone was very comfortable in honoring seniors, right? A very good thing to do. But sometimes the seniors forgot that their purpose was to uplift, support, and encourage the juniors. And we went to Mayapur for Gaur Purnima, first time I went, 76, and there were hundreds and hundreds of us. And I was in charge of the prasadam distribution. And all we had was rice and watery dal. And there were hundreds and hundreds of these brahmacharis. Women, same thing, but they weren't with us in that same hall. I imagine the same thing went on. And there wasn't enough of it, actually. It was the cheapest rice. It's called zebra rice. It's really cheap rice. And the dal was watery and the cheapest dal. And nobody would have minded if it was the cheap stuff. We were used to that. But there wasn't enough. And these were young men who were used to working hard and at least filling their belly, you know, so they can go on and do their seva. But there was never enough. And then off to the side was a special line where sannyasis and GBCs ate. And they got these big heaping plates of maha and special sabjis and all this, you know. And I didn't even mind, you know. I said, yeah, sure, you know, no problem. But then I saw that we didn't have enough to serve everybody else, and these poor brahmacharis are just waiting. And there was so much they couldn't even finish it, so they just leave their plates. And devotees just run over and try to fight over the scraps, you know, the remnants. And I didn't begrudge that. I just thought, how unfortunate. And then later, at the end of the parikram, Srila Prabhupada, near the end, had asked, how is the prasad? Or maybe during it, very quickly. And the one who, the GBC said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, everyone's eating very nicely, full to the belly, very nice quality prasad. Then at the end, he found out what actually went on. And that one group was eating very nicely, the others didn't even get enough to eat. And we had no money. You know, they had money and they could buy coconuts and all kinds of stuff. I remember one sannyasi, GBC, young guy, he had so many coconuts, what the heck, you know. And there were some brahmacharis walking nearby and he just threw the coconut towards them. Yeah. and it fell on the ground, and they were so eager for anything, they took the coconut and they were trying to get anything out of it, the water, however much was left. Maybe there was some malai in there, but these other ones just went on. It was so horrible to see that. And, it wasn't a good look. And, this is what happens when you're growing, when you take on maybe too much responsibility, too much position, too much power, and you get confused about what the important thing is, where the real power is. The real power is in devotion, simple living, high thinking, and service to the Vaishnavas. Unfortunately, we created a hierarchy which meant that the uppers were not serving. You were to serve them, and they were to accept it. Their service was to accept service. That was their mentality. And it took some time to learn the difference. And I'm bringing that up just to show the pitfalls of what institutional environment can create versus a simple environment of just Vaishnavas learning how to associate. As we heard earlier, Dadati pratigrinati, guyam akati prachati, bhunkte bojayate chaiva, sadvidam pratilakshanam. Generally with love, you're offering prasad, I'm offering prasad, right? I'm offering something to you. You're speaking confidentially, I'm sharing realizations and confidences with you. Loving for the purpose of mutual upliftment and respect, right? So a person should give up all this deceit and immerse himself in the nectarian ocean of pure transcendental pastimes that is born of prema for the lotus feet of the divine couple. There we are. Give up deceit. Immerse oneself in the nectarian ocean of pure transcendental pastimes that is born of prema for the lotus feet of the divine couple. That doesn't mean that we're immersed on that level, but we can immerse ourselves in these pure transcendental pastimes by hearing the words of those who are. That's how we begin, right? Shinvatam Svakatak Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, right? Nasta Prayasa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya. And how do we get that taste? How does it grow? What is it? Shushusho Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. You want that ruchi for that Hari Kata? Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtana Shevana. Serve the devotees, and you will automatically develop that kind of taste. So, the prayers expressed in the writings of Rupa Goswami Pad and others in our disciplic succession, our Guru Varga, point the sadhak in the proper direction. One should take guidance from these prayers and perform sadhana while remembering within the heart Sri Yugala's eternal eightfold daily pastimes, Ashta Kaliya Lila. And again, even that is done according to eligibility. We can't artificially imagine those pastimes manifesting in our heart, but we can remember what we've read and meditate on what we read and how it was spoken. Okay, so we'll stop there. I'm thinking tomorrow to read from those two verses in the book Manah Siksa itself, because there's commentary by Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself on those two verses, and further illumination by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, to delve deep into those two verses, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taken them and put them in this Bhajan Rahasya. So I think tomorrow we'll do that. Anyway, we'll stop here. Offer our obeisance to our beloved gurus, to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all of our Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande. Haribol, oh my God, remember this, okay, that was nice. Now let me go seek some praise and honor, associate with some materialists, all the things we're not supposed to do. Okay, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol.